These UFOs are out here, man, and I want to find them.
Perhaps no one spends as much time on skyward mysteries as Jeff Woolwine.
But when these lights come on, it's like somebody with a switch on a wall. Boop. Here we are.
Woolwine's tours are free too, and you're free to believe or not.
Jeff Woolwine, the first person to do this. I think he's as honest as the day is long.
He describes his guests as top-notch, credible, and says Woolwine is one of the good guys.
Whether you believe in UFOs or not, there is something here. And they were here a long time ago. And their sightings is recorded on the mountain.
Welcome back to another Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. How's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are doing great. Got a fantastic show for you tonight. Going to be talking about some petroglyphs out here on South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. Going to be showing some Phoenix lights that are happening not in Phoenix, but in other places in the United States. We're going to show videos on that. And hello, welcome to the Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. I am your host, Jeff Woolwine. I am a resident, a born and raised Phoenix, Arizona resident. I guess you could say I'm an Arizona native. Born and raised in Phoenix. I've been seeing these UFOs ever since I was a kid, playing catch football with my dad out in the front yard. Seeing these orbs in the sky, seeing these lights in the sky. So I have been seeing these Phoenix lights all my life. And in 2004, going everywhere, growing up, you're seeing them. You just want to find out what's going on. And so basically I went on a hunt. I went on a quest to figure out what the hell these Phoenix lights was. What these UFOs in the skies really were. And boy, did I get some answers. You go seek and you shall find. And, it was a bunch of proven facts that I uncovered that hasn't been talked about in like 80 years, And all this information was found not only from me investigating the petroglyphs out on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona, but also going to the Phoenix Public Library and digging up the information there. And so I've been doing this for a very long time. I was out there on South Mountain. I moved out there by South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. All the information, all the research that I was gathering took me to a mountain, man. All the information, all the credible facts, all the credible explanations on what's going on in our skies led me to mountains. And so basically, in a nutshell, real quick, I followed these Phoenix lights in 2004 to South Mountain. I followed these lights. These lights wanted me to know what was going on, and I did. I followed them to the mountain. And then from there, I moved to the mountain in 2005, and I discovered that the petroglyphs, the rock carvings from the Hohokam Indians, the first Native American people who lived in Phoenix, Arizona, saw the Phoenix lights too, and carved their sightings on the mountains. They didn't have video cameras back then to keep their stories alive. They had stone boulders to record something significant for generations upon generations to come to understand what's really going on in our skies and what's really here. Now, was it talking about spaceships and things like that? No, that's something that, I found out, through my investigations, through my credible investigations over 15 years of research I did out there on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona, and sky watching and watching these UFOs in the sky. I have tons and tons and tons of UFO videos. Those of you who have been following me on my YouTube page know that I have just got tons of UFO videos on there. You want to find the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky YouTube channel. And if you find another page just with petroglyphs in the sky, that's not me. That's an imposter. So you want to make sure when you're searching me on YouTube that you find the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. That is me, not just petroglyphs in the sky. That is an imposter. So don't subscribe to that channel. All right, you're giving terrorists money when you do. All right, because that's who's in charge of that. That's not me. This is me here on this YouTube channel, the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. It's all one word. Find me on YouTube or find me on Facebook also, Jeff Woolwine, Facebook, Petroglyphs in the Sky. So when you search my name on the internet, you'll find out all this information on me. The UFO Hunter show I did, all the interviews, all the news reports I've done in Phoenix, Arizona, talking about the petroglyphs, talking about the Phoenix Lights, and making the connection. I was the first one to actually make this connection here in Phoenix, and in the United States, to prove that these rock carvings is talking about UFO sightings. No one else has ever done this before. It was always a theory. We think the Native Americans saw UFOs in the sky and carved them on the rocks. No one has actually proven it. Okay? It's just a theory. Until I did, and for about 3 years, I stayed by that mountain and I saw these things in the sky and I matched it. I matched it to the rock drawings from the Hohokam Indians. There's where credibility lies. There's the proof right there. You have something that's been carved on the rocks for over 1,000 years, and now we are seeing them in the skies today, right? And so I've been all over the mountains. I've been on almost every mountain in Phoenix looking for these petroglyphs, understanding the rock art. I called in a Native American who worked at an Indian museum in downtown Phoenix, a highly credible Indian. And I had him go up there and teach me the petroglyphs on the South Mountain. Talked about spirals, talked about giants, talked about the true meaning of the petroglyphs, right? It's not just hearsay. My information is credible. My discoveries are credible, and they're proven facts. And here's the thing. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before. All this information has been tucked away, hidden away from you for the last 80 years. And I am bringing this information to you. It's all true. It's all facts. It's no hearsay. Everything that I am about to present to you tonight in today's show, and all my other past shows, everything I've been talking about since I first discovered it in 2005, I can prove. I can back up. It's history. It's Phoenix, Arizona's real history. We're going to talk about some of the petroglyphs out there on South Mountain. I got some photographs that I've dug up for you. And we're going to talk about the petroglyphs. We're going to explain the meanings on it. So, yeah. YouTube channel, The Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. That is my YouTube account. Make sure you subscribe to that. Here's my book, The Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. Landscape for the Spirits. True stories, myths, legends, and UFOs over Phoenix. All right? So if you can't get to the Phoenix, Arizona mountains, then I bring the mountains to you. I bring the petroglyphs to you in colored photographs and in correct interpretations on how to understand the petroglyphs and the lost history of Phoenix, Arizona. Information told from the first park ranger, Charles Holbrook of Phoenix, Arizona in the 1930s. Okay? Why would a park ranger be talking about all these crazy things about the giants, about the gold about the gold tombs on South Mountain if it wasn't true? Why would he document all this information? Why was he keeping people away from the gold tombs on South Mountain? Why does he write about that? Why does his son write in his book? His son wrote a book about his dad, Charles Holbrook, and say all the information, and tell the people in his book about what his father did about keeping the people away from the gold tombs on South Mountain. So yeah, there is tombs on South Mountain. Yes, I have discovered at least 4 of them. One of them you can see on my website, and when you go to my YouTube channel, on my links there, you can find my website on my YouTube channel, on my videos. To my website, you can see one of the tombs there. Also in the book, I explain about the tombs in the book there. I show 2 tombs, and there's a story behind, all these information there. So it's not just a regular like UFO book. It's a little bit different. It actually is more like a history book. It's the true history of Phoenix, Arizona that has been buried for the last 80 years that I uncovered in the Phoenix Library in a folder about Charles Holbrook, and when he died in the late 1940s, all his information was tucked away. It was buried. It's gone. They put it in a folder, and this is why you don't understand who the Hohokam people really were, how the Mayans were here in Phoenix, Arizona, along with the Hohokam. Yes, the Mayans were here. Does that surprise a lot of you? No, it doesn't surprise me a bit, man. Arizona was part of Mexico at that time, so sure, absolutely, the Mayans were here. Some would even say that the Hohokams were the Mayans, right? Some even would actually say that these Hohokam Indians are part of the Anunnaki, because that's what some of these petroglyphs are talking about. That's what some of these petroglyphs are depicting, right? It's fascinating. We can read about the Anunnaki in these scrolls, in these tablets, like what, 6,000-7,000 years old, some say, right? We can read their stories, and then we can go out on some of these mountains out here, on some of these carvings, and we can see the prehistoric photographs of what these tablets are talking about. If that's not credible, I don't know what is. 2 different cultures, 2 different races of Indians, races of people who don't have any contact with each other are talking about the exact same thing. How is that possible? We didn't have internet back then. They're making pyramids over there. We're making pyramids over here, right? Not we, but, the Mayans. Right? Mexico, pyramids. Egyptians, they're making pyramids. Why? Energy sources, right? Right? Fault lines, right? A lot of you who have been following me all these years know, what I'm talking about. Because these creatures in the sky, these lights, these UFOs, they're not mechanical. They're not, technology like a lot of people would, like to say that they are. They're more interdimensional beings. They're more creatures. They're alive. You see a bunch of lights out there. You're not looking at spaceships here. Each light is the being, is the creature. That is a creature. That is a living entity. A lot of these so-called UFO researchers haven't got to that part yet, haven't got that far yet. Because the public is more inclined to understand technology than another higher power or another higher entity or creature or animal higher than us. We can understand nuts and bolts, but we have a hard time coping with interdimensional beings and living creatures and you know, some of what these scrolls are talking about, because they're dismissing all that. And that's the reason why they don't understand what's really here. It's because they're dismissing all this information that has already been here with us. The petroglyphs, the scrolls, the Mayans, the Anunnakis, the Nazca lines. All this stuff, dude, is a part of our history. This is basically where we came from. And they're trying to cover all this up. They're trying to bury all this information. And now the new conspiracy, because, you know, crafts are good. Why not? Why not? There, you know, could be crafts out there from another planet. I'm not saying that there isn't, right? I have seen some things in the sky that could resemble a spaceship. Don't get me wrong. But I do think, because I have seen it from my own eyes, I've witnessed these things, that what we're dealing with here is not technology at all, but living creatures, man, living organisms, living beings, man. You know, like look at Mexico when they're talking about the flying serpent, the Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, right? Dude, I have seen him. I have filmed him. Those of you who have been following me on my Facebook page and who have been following me on my YouTube channel know, man, I've got flying snakes in the sky. I was the first one to record these things here in the United States. I was the first one to actually prove that these petroglyphs, a stick figure man looking up at a flying snake in Phoenix, Arizona, is going on today. Is real. It's not a myth. It's not a legend. I think what we're dealing with here is creatures, man. Because when I'm witnessing this thing, dude, it's alive, dude. It's looking at me. It's looking away. It's making a nest in the sky. And it's changing shape. They're shapeshifters, just like what the Native Americans say they are. They're changing shape. They're shapeshifters, right? Absolutely. I think we really need to take a second look at what the Native Americans are saying about these creatures in the skies, and what the petroglyphs are talking about, and what the Anunnaki is talking about, what some of these other scrolls that we read that people are dismissing, because because when you start talking about these scrolls, oh, dude, you're throwing religion at me. No, man, it's not religion. It's part of Earth's history. It's the world's history in these scrolls. And for us to read something like that these beings came from heaven, these beings came up out of the ground, and we read that in the text, and then we go to some of these Native American, stories or legends and petroglyphs, it's the exact same thing. How can we dismiss this? And are they talking about spaceships? No. Man put that idea in their crafts because that's what people understand is technology, right? It's easier to understand that there's a race of beings out there who's made a spaceship and it's coming to Earth than these are living creatures, right? They're not from another planet, right? This is their planet also, right? They're not extraterrestrials. They're interterrestrials, right? They've always been here. Ever since the beginning of time. It's possible that this was their world first. That's how far back this goes. And I just think that this is like the biggest conspiracy of all time, right? That these things have always been with us. These things are real. They're not flying saucers. They're flying creatures. They're flying entities. They're shape-shifting supernatural beings, if you will. And all this information has always been here with us. And, they take stuff out of scrolls You know, just because, you know, we look at the Bible as like religion, and that book has been, you know, torn up and hacked up, and you know, the church puts what they want you to know about in that book because they don't want you to know that, you know, these things are real, that the Nephilim are here. Nephilim never really left. They're still with us. They've been locked up for all these centuries, but now they're coming back. Why? We're seeing them again, you know. So they take all that information out, and they only want you to know what they want you to know. I mean, the very first beginning, right? It says, "Let us make man in our image." Oh my God, who the hell is us? Why doesn't it say, "Let's make man in my image"? It says, "Let's make man in our image." You know, I can't remember the passage right offhand, but there is a passage in there where we read that there's a guy, I can't remember who he is now, and but he's leaning up. He portrays it. When you read it, he's portraying he's sleeping by a tree, right? And this man with wings comes down, right? He's got wings. And when we look at the Anunnaki, this guy has wings also, right? See, a shapeshifter, right? Is he shapeshifting into the likeness of man? Because that's what these petroglyphs out here is talking about on South Mountain. Is because we're looking at like lizard people, right? And they got this tail, right? And they come up out of the sand world. And they lose their tail to look like everyone else. They're shape-shifting. And they taught these people how to survive. They taught these people how to live. They taught the Hohokam Indians how to survive. They taught the people back then the secret ways, the secret knowledge that mankind was not meant to understand. And I think... And that went on for like 1,000 years, right? They ruled this desert. It wasn't a desert back then, but they ruled this land for 1,000 years. Everything was hunky-dory. They worshipped the phoenix lights. They performed sacrifice for the phoenix lights. They saw the serpents in the sky. They saw the orbs in the sky. They treated these beings as gods. For 1,000 years, this was going on. All the natives, all the tribes from all around the nations gathered here in Phoenix, Arizona, at this mountain formerly known as Mount Sepoa, Mountain of Mercy, known today by us by South Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. And they came to this mountain for worship and trade, and to watch these heavenly bodies in the sky. This went on for 1,000 years until their ultimate demise made them disappear. Because Hohokam Indians, Hohokam is a Pima word. The Pima Indians consider themselves ancestors to the Hohokam, along with the Tohono O'odham tribe. They consider themselves ancestors to the Hohokam. And Hohokam name is a meaning of the people who are gone, the people who got taken away. The people who are missing, because we don't know what happened to these people. So the archaeologist wants us to believe, well, okay, they simply migrated somewhere else, right? Well, if that's the case, where the hell did they go? We could follow them to the place where they went, right? But yet, there is no reference point on where they went. They were here for 1,000 years, and all of a sudden they vanished. Now, even when me and you move, we take our belongings with us. But yet the Hohokam didn't. When they disappeared, they left all their belongings behind. That doesn't make any sense. Now, the oral tradition here in the Valley of the Sun in Phoenix, Arizona, on what happened to the Hohokam Indians, the Native Americans say, because they were taught from generation upon generation upon generation what happened to their ancestors. And they say that the devil came from the east and took these people away. carried them off into the heavens, never to return. These demons in the sky, these phoenix lights, these orbs, these flying serpents, these Quetzalcoatl came down out of the sky, came down and took these people up, never to return. That is what the Native American stories say on what happened to these people here in Phoenix, Arizona. They worshiped the Phoenix lights. They saw the lights. The lights actually interacted with these people. The petroglyphs depict them shape-shifting into the likeness of man and coming down and interacting with these Hohokam people, interacting with the Mayans, teaching them the secret knowledge, the secret ways in which mankind was not meant to understand. And that led to their downfall. There were survivors to this Holocaust. They hid in the caves. When it was all over with, they knew that what they did was wrong. They worshiped these beings in the sky, and they were terrified. And they cursed Phoenix. They cursed this land. The people who survived this, they vowed never to come back into Phoenix. They cursed this valley. They said whoever's going to live in this valley of the sun is going to eventually have to go back to war with these spirits of the earth and sky. Does it say spaceships? No. Does it say little green men from Mars? No. They call these beings spirits. And they were afraid. And they got the hell out of Dodge. And they cursed this land. They buried the gold. This is all testimony from Charles Holbrook, who learned this from the Indians at his time and day. He learned this. Charles Holbrook, the first park ranger in 1930s, learned this information from the Indians who lived with him at that time and period. This is what the Indians told Charles. This is what Charles wrote down in his journals, in his stories. And I verified all this stuff by going up on the South Mountain, pulling a Native American from a museum out there in Phoenix, because I saw him on television doing a petroglyph tour. So I figured, what better credibility is from this guy? He already works at the Pueblo Indian Art Museum in downtown Phoenix. He's already been on the TV talking about the petroglyphs. Let's call this guy and have him take me up there and teach me the petroglyphs. So I'm not saying anything new, man. This isn't just my interpretation. No, dude, this is what the Native Americans say. I'm bringing this information to you. So they buried all the gold on South Mountain. Charles Holbrook writes in his journals that this gold that's buried on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona is as high as the tallest saguaro cactus and as round as the sun. You can find this information on my website. There's papers right there. Those are actually actual photographs, because I copied. Once I found this folder in the library, I photocopied all this stuff because I didn't know how long it was going to be there. It hasn't been opened in 80 years. So once I bring this out, I don't know what's going to, once everybody finds out what I'm doing, they're going to go in there and take stuff out, right? And they did. They have. Ever since I found this out in 2005. I keep going back there periodically, every once in a while, just to check up on things. And yes, there is some stuff that's missing out of that folder now. And it's a good thing that I photocopied all this information. I have it in a folder of mine. I put some up on my website. I still have it. And so this is what the Phoenix Lights is really about. It's not some March 13th, 1997, spaceship going over Phoenix with no verification. It's not that. It's bigger. It's always been here. The Phoenix Lights has always been here. They've never left. These creatures in the sky this is their planet also. This is their world. They live here among us. They've always been here. Listen to the Native Americans. That's what they say. They say they live in the mountains. And they do. and I proved it. So basically, this is what this book is talking about. It's really cool. It takes the reader on a magical type journey through space and time, takes you back in time, and it tells you about the Phoenix, Arizona's true history. You know, Phoenix rose up from the ashes of the formal civilization, right? But they failed to really give you history on this formal civilization, you know, because it's talking about giants. It's talking about creatures in the sky. It's talking about how these Native Americans were taken away by the Phoenix Lights. Okay, so I have a new affiliate. Make sure you go check out these guys. For Real Watchers Radio Show. Check them out. I'm working with these guys now, so go follow them. Find them on Facebook. Find them on YouTube. Check these guys out. They're great people. And yeah. Thanks, Brent and Jerry. Thanks for sponsoring the show, brothers. You guys rock. Okay, so Vulture City Mines out there in Wickenburg. I was out there 2019 before the pandemic hit, and I did a lecture out there talking about UFOs. And so we were going to do another, Paracon in 2020, but that got canceled. Everybody knows why. So we're having a new one this year, 2021. And it's going to be in October. Vulture City Mines out there in Wickenburg. Paracon 2. I'll be being a guest speaker out there, talking about UFOs, talking about the true history of Phoenix, Arizona. And actually, we're going to actually be doing a sky watching event out there too. So make sure you get your tickets early because they're going to go fast. Because I'm not really sure how many people are going to be able to come to this event, because of Corona and all that jazz. So make sure you get your tickets early. Contact Jane Marie Yates on their Facebook page, Vulture City Mines. Contact them to get your tickets. And so I'll be doing a live sky watching out there. We're going to go look for UFOs. And we're going to talk about UFOs. I'll be doing a book signing out there. And come on down. Let's do a meet and greet, and let's talk about UFOs. Let's talk about the history. The Native American history. I love history. I love the Native American history. I love the petroglyphs. So that's what I'm all about. These creatures, these UFOs, the Phoenix Lights. I've been doing this for 20 years now. I was born and raised into this, so I know what I'm talking about. I love talking about this stuff. And Vulture City Mines, man, Paracon 2. Come out here, and I'm also going to be doing a ghost hunt too. And that's basically what the Paracon is all about, is ghost hunting. And but I'm going to be doing my own little ghost investigation out there. And so you want to find my ghost page. I have a ghost page. It's called Haunted Encounter Adventures. You want to search that on YouTube under the group settings, setting engines, Haunted Encounter Adventures. You can find my page there, and I'll be doing my own little ghost investigations out there, and also being a guest speaker, doing book signings and meet and greets, and doing our own special UFO watch. So come out here. Wickenburg, Vulture City Mines in October. October, I think, 3rd and 4th. I think it is. So, it's going to be great. Come out here, say hi to me. Let's meet. Talk about UFOs. Talk about ghosts. It's going to be a great, great event. Make sure you come and check it out. Okay, what are we going to do first? What are we going to do first? What is this over here? This is petroglyphs. Okay, we'll talk about petroglyphs first. Okay. So these are petroglyphs from South Mountain. Let's take a look at this. Okay, let's look at this rock art here. Okay, so over here on the middle left, you'll see a guy with 4 arms, right? And it looks like he's got this magical staff weapon, right? He's got this staff weapon. And if you look real closely, I'm going to zoom in on this guy. If you look real closely, he is shooting. You see the little dots? Do, 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 do. You see that? This isn't science fiction. This is real. See that? He's got like this weapon, right? He's got 4 arms, okay? And he's shooting at a flying man, half serpent. Look at that. You see that? He's shooting at a half man, half serpent. Remember the war that went on here? Because the Native Americans, the Hohokam Indians, say that whoever lives in this valley again is going to have to go back to war with these spirits of the earth and sky. And this is depicting a war. Over here we see a Native American, you see an Indian guy, and he's shooting a bow and arrow, and another guy standing there, right? And this rock has been removed. Someone took that. But if you look closely, we have serpents. We have flying snakes, right? And we have another guy with a bow and arrow in the middle. And they're shooting at orbs. There's an orb right there, right? See the orb, the UFO orb? And he's shooting at snakes in the sky, right? We have a coyote up on top. He's looking up, right? We have these coyotes here on this line from the Hohokams. It's hard to say. It looks like they're playing a game. I don't know. It's really hard to tell on what's going on here. But, it's clearly coyotes, and they're looking up at these UFOs in the sky. They're looking up at an orb. They're looking up at flying snakes. You see that? And then over here to the left of this guy, this guy's holding a spiral doorway. He's holding up a spiral doorway. Now, it's interesting, too, because this staff weapon, if you will, and you know how the Vietnamese in India, remember the Vietnamese? And so when we look at some of their arts, some of the Vietnamese art, we'll see like these demonic creatures, okay? And they have like 4 or 5 arms, right? They've got like many arms, okay? Much like what this guy does here. He's got 4 arms. See that? He has got 4 arms. This is in Phoenix, Arizona. This is a petroglyph carved in Phoenix, Arizona. On South Mountain, Mount Sapoa, Mountain of Mercy. And here we have a 6-figure guy, and he's got 4 arms, and he's shooting at a half man, half serpent. And so the Vietnamese, they have, when they depict their gods, they have like many arms and stuff, right? And so their legends say that there was a war between the good entities, the good UFOs, if you will, and the bad entities, the bad UFOs, right? And the good ones used these magical staff weapons to shoot at these creatures in the sky. And mankind was their prize. So there was a war here on Earth between the good entities and the bad entities. To us, we call them UFOs. To the natives, they call them spirits. To the India people, they call them Vietnamese. Basically, what we're looking at, what we're dealing with here, is the same story around the world. It's the same story around the world. It's just told a different way. They have different meanings, or not meanings. They have different names and different stories, right? But it's basically talking about the same thing. So here in South Mountain, we pretty much have the same depiction. We have an entity here, and he's got 4 arms, and he's got this staff weapon, and he's shooting at a flying humanoid in the sky. So the Vietnamese story goes on to say that when this war was all over with, obviously the good ones won because we are still here. They go on to say that these good entities, these good creatures, these good UFOs, because there are good ones. There's good ones and there's bad ones. You know, when we read some of these biblical scrolls, when we read, you know, the Sumerian texts and things like this, we do come to the conclusion that there are good ones and there are bad ones, you know. And so we got to distinguish the two. We got to figure out, because when shit hits the fan and we actually start dealing with these things, we're gonna have to know who the good ones are and who the bad ones are, right? So their stories say that the good ones won, obviously, and they buried their magical weapons in certain spots around the earth because they know eventually that they're going to have to come back one day and reuse them. So this war is going to happen again. And so they left their staffs here. They left their weapons here in certain places around the globe to be used once again. And this isn't the only stick figure man I find out there in South Mountain, and with the many arms. I've seen a lot of petroglyphs depicting these creatures with many arms before. And one is actually shooting at a dinosaur. And yes, there was dinosaurs here in Phoenix. I believe that because, well, they proved it. I think, what was it, back in, what year was that? 2015, I think it was. They were making the construction workers was making a new apartment complex in Mesa, east side of Phoenix. And they had to call in the archaeologists because they found dinosaur bones in that area where they were digging up to make their apartment complex. So they had to put everything on hold, call in the archaeologists, and yeah, they found dinosaur bones in Phoenix, Arizona. Is that incredible or what? It's great. So yeah, and then we go up on the mountain, right? And we see these prehistoric photographs of this 4-armed stick figure man with this weapon shooting at a dinosaur. Is that crazy or what? But it's there. That's part of our history. This is on South Mountain. I believe all these photographs that I pulled off. This is part of it. These are part of my books. This was probably in the second one. I don't believe that this is in the first one. It's in the second book, which hasn't been published yet. Oh, by the way, so I don't make any money off my books. All right, I've instructed the book publishers to give the money to the foster kids in Phoenix. All right, so I'm not seeing a dime of any of this. It's not about money. It's not about fame. It's about getting the true information on what the Phoenix Lights really is. Not from hearsay people trying to sell you books and sell you movie tickets every year, with no proof. Okay, I can back up everything I say, all right. And these other people, they can't. It's just hearsay. So, and they're making money off you from hearsay, and I don't think that's right. So, I did many years of research. I've done the most research ever in Phoenix, Arizona, to explain the Phoenix Lights than anybody else has. I was on the mountain. I've done the sky watching. I was brought up with these lights. I've seen them in the sky when I was a kid. I'm not some out of towner coming in and trying to make money off hearsay from these lights. Like these people are doing in Phoenix. It's not right. So I'm bringing the information to you. It's credible information. stuff that can be backed up with evidence. And that's where the Phoenix Lights story is. Not just 1997 Phoenix Lights and the spaceship went over Phoenix with no evidence, right? This is credible evidence. The petroglyphs, the sky watching, the history of Phoenix, Arizona. Not what the archaeologists want you to believe, but the stuff that has been covered up for 80 years. So if the publisher, I told the publishers, look, I don't want it. Give it to the foster kids in Phoenix because I'm a foster child myself. Okay, so this rock art, and I call it rock art because it is, right? So this is on South Mountain, and these are actually, someone would probably say, oh, dude, they're grave markers. No, because look where they're oriented. This is oriented towards the east, right? These are sun markers. So during the equinox and the solstice and the changing of the sun position in the sky, the sun starting on the left will arise up over here, starting on the left rock, will rise above that rock there, and then the changing of the seasons, and then the middle rock, the sun will align perfectly with this rock, and then during the summer, the sun will align with this rock over here on the right. So those are sun markers. They're not gravestones. They're sun markers. They're tracking the sun. Why? They're tracking the seasons. Why? Why is the Hohokam Indians tracking the seasons? Is it because they want to know when it's time to plant corn, as these archaeologists want you to believe? No, man, it has nothing to do with planting corn. It has everything to do with these beings in the sky. You see, they follow the sun. The Hohokam Indians, they were sky watchers, right? They tracked the sun. They didn't feel that the sun was a god, but they felt that he was, per se, like someone to worship, but a tyrant one, And they watched him go across the sky. They watched the sun go across the sky, and they learned that their gods, these beings, these Phoenix Lights, these creatures in the sky, were here only on certain months, if you will, certain seasons, right? So they tracked these beings in the sky. They tracked their gods on when they were going to return through the sun, through the seasons, through the changing of the seasons. So, for instance, January, February, March, April, May, and June, right? And July, right? So we're seeing a lot of UFO activity out here on the west coast of the United States. And then all of a sudden, the sun changes positions, right? We have this equinox or this solstice, right? And the sun changes positions. Now these creatures have followed the sun to another spot. So basically, they're here, these creatures in the sky are here for the energy spots. Right? I might have got a little ahead of myself here. So South Mountain was created by a fault line. All right? And these fault lines generate energy. Right? And so when the sun moves along these energy lines, or ley lines, if you will, around the earth, when the sun aligns with these energy lines, it opens up these doorways. It kind of acts like it causes a fusion effect. And it attracts these beings to these energy sources. All right? So when the sun is in the position here during before the equinox, we're seeing a lot of UFO activity right there on this mountain because they're absorbing the energy. That's what they're there for. They're here for the energy. When the sun changes positions during the equinox, solstice, things like that, the sun moves to another energy spot. It moves over to another energy fault lines, ley lines. So these UFO creatures, they follow the sun over there. So this is the reason why, some months we see a lot of UFO activity, and then other months they're gone. They're over there in Florida. They're over there in Russia. They're over there in Jerusalem. They're over there in Paris, right? And then the equinox comes back around, and now they're over here now, right? So this is how they tracked them. So I learned all this from the first year watching these creatures over South Mountain, right? The first year I watched them, they were here, you know, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, all the way up into that equinox, right? And then after that equinox, dude, they were kind of gone, dude. They were gone all these months. And then all of a sudden, the sun would change position. We'd have another equinox or solstice. And these UFOs were back. That's exactly how these Native Americans tracked these beings. So they stacked rocks on top of boulders, and they carved spirals in them. And so when the sun positions during the equinox and the solstice, right, the sun will go across the sky and it'll cast a shadow down through these spirals, and it will cut through that spiral and into the stone. Now these spirals are doorways, right? These spirals represent, they're symbols for doorways, right? So when we see a spiral on a boulder, okay, if the spiral is ending down, then chances are it's ending in a crack. It's ending in a crack of the stone. That is the emergence point to the underworld. That's what the Native Americans believe. That these spirits, these creatures, are going down into the underworld. Right? But on a scientific matter, on a scientific way of thinking it, they're going down into that fault line. Right? They're going down into that energy source. They're absorbing the energy. In 2004, I videotaped these Phoenix lights on the east side of South Mountain over a major power plant that's bored down into South Mountain's energy source, South Mountain's fault line. This power plant on Ray Road in Mesa, Arizona, on the east side of Phoenix, right, by South Mountain. Look it up. Look it up on your Google Earth or whatever. There's a power plant there off of Ray Road. Right there is a power plant into that fault line. And I found a map. I found an old map from the Holocoms. I found an old map from the pioneers who first settled here in Phoenix, and they mapped all the canals and they mapped all the Holocom structures throughout the valley before they destroyed them. And thank God they mapped it. And it just so happens that where that power plant sits today is the major heart of the city. That's where there were so many Holocom villages right in that area. There was Holocom villages scattered all over the valley, right? But mostly they all gathered right here at that spot where this power plant sits today at. So this is telling me that because they wanted to be as close as they could to these lights. They wanted to be as close as they could to their gods. And every year during the seasons, the sun would move over this fault line, and right there would be the perfect spot for these lights to show up at, because these lights were appearing right over that fault, right over that power plant, absorbing the energy from that power plant in the summer of 2004. This has been going on for thousands of years. This isn't anything new. The Phoenix Lights just wasn't some one event, March 13, 1997. This has been going on for over 1,000 years, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4,000 years. These lights have always been there. I'll give you a clue. I'll give you a little secret. They never die. These creatures that we see in the skies are the same creatures that the Holocom people that we're dealing with, that the ancient ones were dealing with, that the Egyptians were seeing, the Mayans were seeing. These are the same creatures. They don't die. So that's how we were able to track these things. So that first year, right, I tracked them. I watched, their activity. I watched the sun. I tracked the sun. And then the next year, it repeated itself, right? And then the year after that, it repeated itself. So that's how I knew that was the secret. That was the pattern, on how to see these lights, where to see them at, what months they would show up at, what times, what dates they would show up at, right? I documented all this. For 3 years, I was out there on that mountain watching these things, tracking them, hiking the mountain, busting my knees out there, dude, taking photographs, finding the tombs, finding the real history of Phoenix, Arizona. For many, many years, man, I did all this, right? And then I moved. I spent 3 years by that mountain. And once I figured out the pattern, that was it, you know. And then I moved from different spots in the valley just to see. And I learned I learned where the UFOs are at Glendale and Tempe, you know, and Mesa, you know, because there's different spots that these creatures like to hang out at, and you can see them. And I followed them. I basically followed them for years all around the Valley of the Sun. And it has everything to do with the sun aligning with these fault lines, with these energy lines. You know, I discovered this in 2005, and I brought this to the UFO community. You know, I did an article with UFO magazine, and then I went on to do the pilot for the UFO Hunter show and the pilot for the Ancient Aliens TV series. Because, you know, I was doing research way before these shows were even on the air. You know? I am the source of all this, whether you want to believe it or not. But basically, I am. I started all this, you know, with the help of Pat Uskert, him having this, you know, brainstorm of making a show on UFOs around the country and making a show out of it, because it was just a theory. You know, it wasn't an actual show yet. It was just, you know, a work in progress. Pat Uskert found out what I was doing in Phoenix. He decided to come out there, and I took him up on the mountain. We did the pilot for the UFO Hunter show, and also for the Ancient Aliens TV series. And, you know, I brought him all my evidence. You know, I gave him all the documents from the Phoenix Library. I showed him the tombs. You know, I showed him the petroglyphs. I showed him the UFO sightings. You know, all this was making sense. This was credible. You know, not just from you know, one person saying hearsay of a craft going over Phoenix 1997, you know, selling movie tickets. He wanted to stay away from that because there wasn't any proof of that. He came to me because he knew I was right. He knew that I was onto something, because no one else has talked about these petroglyphs connected to the Phoenix Lights before. No one has done their research. No one has done their homework. So he came to me. We did the pilot. Later on, when finally these shows aired in 2007, they came back, and I did the History Channel UFO Hunter show in 2007. So I've been talking about these fault lines. I've been talking about this energy. And everybody in this UFO community, whether they want to admit it or not, knows who I am. Okay, they know my work. All right. I'm the one that started this all way back, you know, in 2005. You know, so all these other cable shows and history shows and blah, blah, you know, they're using my work, you know, for their own gain. All right. They're not telling you where they got this information from. But when you search my name on the internet, right, you'll see my work goes way back, way before these shows were even, you know, shows, way before they were even a thought of an idea, you know, way before they were just a little, you know, I don't want to go too graphic on it, but these shows were never thought of. But I was up there on the mountains investigating the petroglyphs, investigating the Phoenix Lights, pulling this information from the Phoenix Library, you know, way before these shows got started. I'm the first one that says, look, these Phoenix Lights are with the petroglyphs. I can prove it. I did. Now I'm saying these things are connected with the energy, the sun, the fault lines, the seasons, changing of the seasons. It is, man. And my point is, so Skywalker Ranch, right, decided to prove my theory, season 1, episode 4, and they want to see if there's any energy up there in the sky, right? Oh, is there energy? You know, we want to see if there's energy there, right? So they launched these rockets, they put sensors in it, and they launch these rockets up. And lo and behold, what's there? A light in the sky. Right? A light in the sky is there. They verified that the rocket picked up energy. But they still don't get it yet. They think that this UFO craft was making the energy. Right? They don't understand that for one, that's not a craft. That light is not a spaceship. That light is not technology. That light is the creature, is the being. And it's not making energy. It's here for the energy. Right? They don't get it yet. They haven't got that far yet. And so, yeah, Skinwalker Ranch is sitting on a fault line. So there is no mountains on Skinwalker Ranch, but there are mountains around Skinwalker Ranch. And it has the same petroglyphs as we find on the mountains of Phoenix, Arizona. It's talking about the same story. It's talking about these anthropomorph shapeshifters, flying snakes, flying diamonds, flying orbs, phoenix lights. All this stuff is carved there around Skinwalker Ranch. And that's where the fault line is right there in that area, right there in that area. Are they going to tell you where they got that information from? No, they're not going to tell you. But when you search my name on the internet, when you go doing research on me, you'll know I was the first one to say this. You know? So now all these other people are trying to prove my theories, and they're not telling you where they got it from. They got it from me. Okay. What's up, guys? Good to see you again. All right, so back to South Mountain petroglyphs. Look at this one here. This is on Holbrook Trail. And what is this guy doing? He's looking up at a flying snake. A flying serpent. And see, when we look at the petroglyphs, we have to look at the whole landscape. Because the artist is including the landscape in with the art. So, for instance, this petroglyph is high up on a cliff. I had to climb up there to get this photograph. And it wasn't easy, you know. But this petroglyph is carved high up on the side of a cliff. And so the reason to this is because the artist wants you to look up. He's telling you that he saw this flying snake in the sky right here where this boulder carving is. That is a written testimony. That is a prehistoric photograph of what took place right there. So the artist is that Indian guy there, and he must have had a goat because there's a goat with him. And it's carved in the sky. We have to look up in the sky. It's petroglyphs in the sky. We're looking up. We have to look up to see the petroglyph because that is what the artist is wanting you to do. That is the interpretations. That is the meaning. He wants you to look up because that's part of the story. He saw it in the sky. So he's going to carve it in the sky or close to it. The only thing he has to carve it on to make a record is that boulder right there, that rock, that steep cliff. So I'm going to climb up there because that's where it happened at. It happened up there. So I have to carve it up there. This right here, this is the holy grail of my sightings. I didn't find the UFO sighting, but those of you who have been following me know what this petroglyph is. So this right here, when I'm watching the South Mountain, I'm seeing this crooked snake come off the mountain. This is carved on South Mountain, and I see the exact same formation coming off South Mountain. And then I go out there and I find the petroglyphs of these Native Americans, these stick figure guys with the headset on, looking up at the exact same thing that I filmed in the sky. Now, I went out there and I bought the archaeologist's book, the City of Phoenix archaeology book. And him and his team went up there for like 5 years and they documented the petroglyphs. But he doesn't tell you like the whole meaning of the petroglyphs there. He does say that that some of the stories on the petroglyphs out there is that these petroglyphs has the power to invoke the spirits, and they do. And that's true. Because I have gone out there on the mountain, I have talked to the petroglyphs, And either that day or a few days later, one creature, one UFO, one entity will come and see me. So yes, I've done this many times before. I think I've found like 3 spots on South Mountain where I can go up there and talk to the petroglyphs. I know it sounds crazy, but how do you think I got so much sightings, right? Why do you think I have so many sightings? Because I've been up on the mountain. I'm talking to them while I'm on the mountain. I play a flute when I'm up on the mountain, right? I'm contacting these creatures. I'm contacting these beings. And they came and saw me when they were in town. I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of UFO videos. Why? Because I'm up there talking to them. Because I believe in them. I understand what they are now. They know I'm there to research them. They know I'm there to check them out. They know I'm there to film them. They know I'm there to bring this information to you. Because they want this to get out to you guys. They want you to know that they're here, but it's not time yet for any communication or anything like that, right? And so they only let a few people know that they're here, right? That, you know. And then another reason too is you have to be in the right spots. Because not just because you move doesn't mean that, you know, they're going to follow you. Sometimes they did, and then sometimes they don't. Like right now I moved. I'm not next to that mountain no more, right? And I'm next to a military base right now. Right? There's a military base in my backyard, basically. And so I'm not seeing them anymore. Every once in a while I might see one, but it's very scarce because of the military base, because I have these military jets flying over my house all the time. So these UFOs aren't going to come around. You have to be in these certain spots, right, to see them a lot. So if you're next to South Mountain, you're going to see a whole bunch of them. If you know when to look, where to look, and how to look. You're going to see them. Have faith. Just because you don't see them when you're up there. I've had people call me up, dude, I'm up on South Mountain and I didn't see crap. Dude, I spent 3 years, man. Just because you spent 1 day, you didn't see anything, right? Doesn't mean anything. You have to be dedicated, right? And I was dedicated. I moved to that mountain. I stayed there. I lived about a mile away from that mountain on the east side. And I had my camera out my kitchen window the whole time for 3 years. That's dedication. I was out there on the mountains exploring the petroglyphs, you know? Not just 1 day. Dude, you got to constantly, you know, be there, dude. And once you figure out the pattern, in which I did, then you know when to see them, when not to see them, when they're going to be here, when they're not going to be here, where to look. This is all a trial and error. You know, no one else has done this before. You know, it took me like many, many years, you know, to figure out the hot spots and this and that, you know, and tracking them, following them. And I did. That's how I got all these UFO sightings. It's trial and error. Right? See, but you have something that I didn't. You have me now. Right? I am telling you how to do this. Okay? You want to see UFOs? Just call my bluff. Go out there and do what I did. Right? If you're not in Phoenix, Arizona, then check out your history of your land. Find out where these mountains are. Look for mountains that have carvings of spirals on them. And these shape-shifting anthropomorphs, lizard people, things like that. There are mountains around the globe that are not talking about these creatures in the sky. There are mountains out there where it's only talking about ceremonies like kachinas or hunting and gathering or pretty pictures of deers and butterflies. Okay? That stuff, that's all fine and good. That's neat. But that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for the mountains with spirals on them. Okay? That is the key. Once you figure out where these spirals are, where these mountains are, that's where you want to watch. You want to find out where the energy spots are around your valley, around your area. Look for the energy lines. Look for the ley lines. Understand the geological area on which you live. Okay, look for the fault lines. You live next to a major fault line, If there's a mountain there, check out that mountain. Find out the history of it. See if there's any Indian stories to that mountain. If there is, constantly go out there. Just because you go out there one day you don't see anything, you can't give up, dude. You have to keep going out there. Be persistent. The Indians have already documented this stuff for us. Okay, they've carved, they tell you. They've carved their images. They carved their sightings on the mountains. They're telling you, dude, where to look, what to look for, how and when they're going to be there. You just have to understand. Once you figure it out, once you see them, keep going out there on a daily basis. Dedicate yourself to this for a year. Do it for a whole year. Not just one day, not just 2 days, not just 3 days, not for a week. Dedicate yourself for a whole year. Go out there on the mountain. Get out there right before the sun rises. And be there when the sun sets. I know it's hard work, especially if those of you who've got work and jobs and school and stuff. That's how to see them. That's basically how to see them. And, because of misinformation, people are looking for spaceships. Okay? They're looking for technology. They're looking for nuts and bolts. So when they see these lights in the sky or they see these creatures in the sky, because they were told they're supposed to be looking for flying saucers, and it doesn't add up, then they dismiss it. Oh, that's a balloon. It's moving really slow. It's changing shape. It's changing color. It's still a balloon. It's not going up. It's going in a straight line. Now it's stopped. It's not moving anymore. Moving very slowly, changing color, in control. Must be a balloon. Because I was brainwashed into thinking flying saucers and little gray men taking people up into their spaceships. So when they see it, they think it's a balloon. When they see a light in the sky, they think it's a flare. Because they're looking for a flying saucer. They're looking for a V-shaped craft. They're looking for a triangle craft. TR3B, I think they call it now. In which there's really no proof of their existence. I see computer-generated stuff of this, right? People trying to play it off as this is real so they get the hits on YouTube so they get paid, right? So they're basically getting paid off of your foolishness, off of your ignorance. You're believing in them because they have a fake video of a TR-3B or a spacecraft or a flying V going over Phoenix, and it's not real, and they're playing off your ignorance. That's basically what's going on here. Because they're getting paid for you not looking in to see if this is credible or not. They're not expecting you to understand what CGI video is. They're not expecting you to go investigate how to make a CGI video, how to make a CGI photograph. They're playing off your ignorance so they can get paid. That's it. That is what's going on, and I'm sorry. I have not once found any proof videos of a spaceship, flying saucer, little green man. And I've been doing this for years, right? And I understand what CGI videos look like. I understand what real UFOs look like because I've been there before. I've witnessed it. I've seen it. I know what real UFO videos look like, and I know what fake UFO videos look like. I get people, trying to send me videos, on my YouTube page or my Facebook channel, trying to post this stuff, and my wife Pam will, show me the video. Boom, right there. It's fake. Well, how do you know? You just looked at it. You just got a glance. I know it's a fake. Why? Because I know it's a fake. Because I've experienced it. I filmed it. I know what real stuff is, and I know what fake is. Are you sure that's a fake? Yes, it's a fake. Look at it. Let's look at it a little bit longer. Oh, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Right, because it's a fake. And there's like 1 billion hits on it. And this person is getting paid from YouTube, from people believing into this crap. When it's a fake, it's a hoax the whole time. But they don't want you to know that. They just want to play off your ignorance so they can get money by you clicking on that video. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that people are doing that. But, you know, that's what's going on nowadays. That's why we have to be so careful in what to believe and what not to believe anymore. You know? Because there's so many people out there trying to be special. You know, trying to, you know, say, oh, I filmed something in the sky. You know, I just took a photograph, you know, but, it, you know, it's a bird. You know, things like this. They just want to feel special, right? And because of fake videos like that, it's going beyond the limits on what real UFOs are. It's taking what real UFO sightings, it's taken away what real UFO sightings is. Because here we have this computer generated video that's got, you know, billions of hits on it when it's totally fake. And then we have a real UFO light video and it's not getting any hits at all. You know, so these hoaxers are actually hurting the UFO community. It's hurting the real UFO researchers who are going out there and actually filming real lights in the sky, real flying serpents, real flying diamonds, real orbs. You know, and they're leading people on with disinformation. And other people with disinformation, with hearsay that can't be proven. We really need to take a second look on what really happened March 13th, 1997. Look at the facts here. If hundreds of thousands of people saw this V-shaped craft reported going 8 miles an hour over the city of Phoenix, and not one person can pick up a video camera? Pick up a camera? But yet a handful of people can film lights way far on the west side of Phoenix, Arizona? Then why couldn't the same handful of people film a spaceship craft going over the city of Phoenix reported 8 miles an hour? Doesn't make sense. But yet these people want you to believe that, so you buy their books, so they buy their movie tickets to get famous, to make sure that they're always on that soapbox, and they can't prove it. They're making money off of your ignorance. Sorry, but that's the truth. I called that bluff. I've been calling that bluff for 20 years now. It's been over 20 years and not one single credible evidence of a V-shaped spaceship craft going over the city of Phoenix, March 13th, 1997. I was out there. Look, remember, I'm a native. I lived there. I was out there that night. I didn't see shit go over the valley, dude. I was there, right? The only proof that we have are people that saw the lights way far on the west side of South Mountain. Was it a V-shape? No. It was just an arc, right? And those houses you see on the bottom of that video, those are houses next to the mountain. That's not over the city. That's far west of the city. Those are houses that people live there by the mountains over there. So anyway, let's move on. Okay, so we're talking about spirals again. So, where the spirals go down, like this first spiral here, let's examine the first spiral and see how it's ending down, and it's going clockwise. So this is a doorway, all right? It's a doorway in. It's a symbol of a doorway in, okay? And it's pointing down. So, and there's more petroglyphs on the bottom there, which is the photograph cuts out. And then there's this deer connected to this spiral doorway. So the spiral is going counterclockwise, and it's ending down. So the doorway is right there on the ground or the boulder of the crack, right? So we have another spiral on top of that, right? And it's going counterclockwise, and it's ending up. And counterclockwise means it's a doorway out, and it's ending up, which means that there's a vortex in the sky. That's when these lights just magically appear in the sky. That's when these beams just come through a vortex door, come through a door, very soft, very silent, barely notice them unless you're looking for them, and they come in and they're there, right? So you can't put a symbol in the sky, but you can carve a symbol under where the door is on the rock, because you can't carve it up there. There's nothing to carve up there. There's nothing. You can't put a symbol up there where the door is. So you have to put a symbol on the bottom here, on the ground, on the rock, to align where that door is. So here we have a doorway in and a doorway out. One coming in the ground, one going out into the sky. So that's exactly what these petroglyphs are depicting. That's what they represent. So, giants. This is on South Mountain. So, yes, there were giants in Phoenix, Arizona, in the Valley of the Sun, in Mount Sepoa. I have found many evidences of the giants. I have found these stone boulders that are teeter-tottering on the corners. They're cut into bricks. They're huge stone slabs, like a few thousand tons. All right, and they're teeter-tottering on each other, right? One next to another, on a little thing of clay, it looks like, and they're oriented towards the equinox sunrise to cast a shadow, And these things are huge. How did the simple Native Americans pick up these 1,000-pound stone boulders and were able to teeter-totter them to make them stand in place? I found a big wall, all right, with these huge, big slabs of stone bricks constructed on South Mountain. And the only way to explain this is there had to have been someone very big, very powerful to construct this. Giants. There's so many petroglyphs of giants on South Mountain. It's interesting. Remember I said that, so we can read these scrolls, right? Talking about the Nephilim, talking about the giants, right? And then we can go to the rocks. We can go up on these mountains and see the prehistoric photographs of what these scrolls have been teaching us, are saying. So we can read it, and then we can see it, right? We see the photographs of what these scrolls are talking about, the giants. So Dave Morris, a Native American who works at the museum, the Indian Museum in Phoenix, he was telling me about the giants, and he was telling me one story I'm going to share with you tonight. There's a mountain out there on the east side of Phoenix called the Superstition Mountain. Now, a lot of these people are a lot of these, hikers and historians mostly talk about the German Dutch man who found the gold up there and died and never told anybody where it's at. So everybody's been trying to go up there locating the lost Dutchman's mine. Well, that mountain actually goes a lot deeper than that little German guy up there losing a bunch of gold. All right. That mountain is sacred. That mountain has a history all on its own. And it goes back to the flood, to the biblical flood. And the story goes to say when the flood was coming, the giants got scared. Yes, there's giants here in Phoenix. They got scared. And they ran to this boulder. They ran to the east side of this huge boulder. And the lead giant said, stand up on this boulder. I'm gonna use my powers. I'm gonna raise this boulder up. Everybody, get up there. Get up, hurry, get up there. The water's coming. We're gonna drown. Get up on this boulder. Here we go. Ready? He used his power to move this stone up. But the water kept coming. He used his powers again to raise this stone up. The water kept coming, and the giants were afraid. They didn't want to drown. There's so much water coming up. He raised this boulder so high, by now it's as high as a mountain. But the water is covering the valley. It's covering these other mountains. The water is coming. And in his last bit of strength, because he didn't want his people to drown, he turned them all to stone. And when he did, that's when the flood waters stopped. And to this day, you can look upon the Superstition Mountains and you can see how the mountain was raised up layer by layer by layer. You can see where the water of the flood had stopped. You can see the water line on the side of the Superstition Mountain. And to this day, you can actually see the giants that were turned to stone right before that water had stopped, still on the tippy tops of that mountain ridge. You can still see the giants that are turned to stone on that mountain. And on the very bottom of that mountain, on the left side, you can see the lead giant, and he's in the appeasement pose. He's in like a praying formation on his knees. Dave told me that. And you can actually see what he's talking about. Right? The shaman, he told me that. You can see what he's talking about. You can actually see the layers, how the mountain was moved up. You can see where the water stopped. You can see that watermark. You can see those giants still up there on that ridge, turned to stone. There's another giant turned to stone in Phoenix, Arizona also that you can see. It's on Camelback Mountain. That's really cool. You can actually see him. He's sitting on his knees, and he's up on the side of a hill. And he's a giant. He's sticking out like a sore thumb, right? You can't miss that guy. Some people call him Mummy Mountain. But that's a giant. That's a giant turned to stone. And look at this. Look at the fingers. How many fingers? 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This guy's got 6 fingers, man. What's up with that, right? Phoenix, Arizona petroglyphs. South Mountain. This is the true story of Phoenix. It goes way further back than what the archaeologist wants you to believe. Oh, the Hohokam people was just a simple peace-loving tribe of people who vanished, who just migrated when it got hot. They stopped living here because it got too hot. But they were peace-loving. Bullshit, dude. This shit goes deeper than that. This is biblical stuff that we're dealing with here. Biblical stuff. This is on South Mountain. This is one of those UFOs. And look at that. Look at the barbells. See that? There are many barbell formations carved on South Mountain. And this is a huge one. Because this is what these creatures like to look like. This is what these UFO entities look like. They look weird. They look like flying snakes or barbells or diamonds or orbs and lights and crooked snakes and weird designs. So when you look at these rock art, when you look at the mountains out there that's got spirals and these weird looking patterns, dude, that's what the creatures look like. These weird patterns you see carved on the rocks, that's what these UFOs look like. That's what the entities are, that's what they're looking like. That's what the Indians carved. That's what they saw. They saw squiggly lines in the sky. They're carving squiggly lines on the rocks because that is what was seen. That is what they witnessed. Here we go. This is a flying snake. This is a serpent. When you see rock art like this, it's only obvious it's a snake. It's Quetzalcoatl. It's a feathered serpent. And it's all over South Mountain. And I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen many times the feathered serpent over South Mountain. I've seen it. I have videotaped these flying snakes. This is not technology, man. These things are alive. These are creatures. This is biblical stuff that we're dealing with here. This is why it's so big. This is why it's so massively covered up. They don't want you to know this. They would rather make you believe in flying saucers and technology because that's what you can understand than actually having it relate to the Bible and biblical stuff. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the stuff that's written in these scrolls, right? And we can read it on the scrolls. We can read it in the text. We can read it in the biblical text. And then we can go out to the mountains and see the photographs of what the texts are talking about. And then we can witness the stuff for our own eyes in the skies. Now, come on. That's more credible than a hearsay V-shaped craft going over the city of Phoenix, March 13th, 1997. Yeah, I know, I can't get off that. But it really bothers me. It really upsets me that just so many people are buying into this, and there's no evidence here. Here we go. There's another giant there. See that? You know that's a giant. Look at the size of that guy. Then we have a little guy over there on the bottom left, right? Yeah, giants. Phoenicians? Okay, so don't forget to subscribe to the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky YouTube channel. Make sure that it says the Phoenix Lights, okay? Not just Petroglyphs in the Sky, that's not me. Make sure it says the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. Thank you all for your support. Let's get into these videos real quick. I'm running out of time. Okay, so I'm not sure where this was filmed at. But look at this. Look at the way these things move. Look at the pattern. Look how they're moving there. Some of them are moving together. Some of them are moving in a line. Look at that. Look how they're moving. This is not Chinese lanterns. These are not flares. These are real creatures in the sky. They're not spaceships. These are living entities. These are living beings. Look how you can see one's going faster than the other. All right. Some are moving. Some are not. All right. Some are staying in formation, like these two bright ones in the upper right. See that? These things are alive. This is not technology. These are living creatures. Let's not make the mistake on thinking technology here when there's no real evidence of technology. Here we have lights over the water. I'm not sure where this was filmed at. You can see the reflection from the water. This is probably an ocean. And oh, look at that. See? Look how they just magically appear. Look at that. See that? These are not flares. Flares are not going to stay in formation like that. And plus, you're going to see the airplane light dropping these flares out if they were. Look at that. Look how they're staying directly in formation that way. There's a vortex, a doorway in the sky. That's a great video. I really enjoy that video. I've seen the exact same thing in Phoenix. I filmed the exact same. Now look how they look at that. See how it just appears? Look at that. That is perfect. That is beautiful. That is what we are looking for. Not flying saucers. Okay? But things like this. This is what we are looking for. Here we go again. Here's some more lights. These are neat. I think this was filmed in Vegas, Las Vegas. Isn't that incredible? That is neat. Look how they're just hanging in the sky right there. See that? This is the stuff that we want to look for. This is great video. So, you know, point taken. You know, look at this. So, it's not just Phoenix, all right, that is seeing these lights. It's all over the country. It's all over the world. And they're not spaceships. They're not flying Vs. Look at that. Have you ever seen anything resemble a flying V in the sky, right, that's not computer generated? You might see these lights flying in a triangle, and that's what they do, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a spaceship in the middle of that. It's just these things fly in formation of a triangle. Is this the reason why they're making triangles, man-made triangles, pyramids on these energy sources, the fault lines, such as out there in Egypt and out there in Mexico? Are they putting these man-made triangle pyramids on fault line energy sources because they saw pyramids in the sky? They saw the formations of these lights, of these creatures in a pyramid in the sky, and they knew that this was the area where they hung out at. So to, in a way, worship these beings, they make the same type of object that they saw in the sky, a pyramid, over where their energy source is at, over where they are mostly seen at, where they gather at. Are the pyramids actually resemble the lights in the sky? Because that's the formation they took? Here we go again. These are neat. Look at that. This is cool. I'm not sure where this is filmed at. Yeah, this is neat stuff. These aren't Chinese lanterns. Okay? They'd burn out too quick. They wouldn't stay in formation like that, right? These aren't flares. This is the kind of stuff that we're looking for. These are not airplanes. A lot of these people, they're mistaking UFO lights, and they see like these airplanes and they're blinking. Anything blinking in a repetitious, in a pattern, strobing, that's man-made. Okay, that's an anti-collision light. You want to stay away from videos with lights that are strobing like that in a pattern. That's an airplane. That's a helicopter. That's a drone. That's that's garbage. You don't want to waste your time on those videos. Don't let these people fool you into thinking that's a UFO when it's blinking in a pattern like that, right? Sure, sometimes these objects, they do flash, but they don't do it in a pattern. And that's what you want to look for when trying to understand if you're looking at a real UFO video or not. Okay. I think those lights are down there on the bottom there, right under that light pole. Let's see if the subject will zoom in on this and not get a better look. Yeah, right there at that bottom of that pole. Here we go. Now the dude's zooming in. So yeah, these lights just aren't in Phoenix. These are all over the world. All right? And they're not spaceships, okay? They're not crafts. All right? They're living creatures. They're living entities. And until we can prove that, there's spaceships here, I think we have to look at the evidence. We have to go with what the history of the world, the history says. And when we really look at it, it's saying that these things have always been here. This is their planet. This is not technology. This is another life form. This is another animal, if you will. All right, they're a little bit higher than man. All right, we can't fly. We can't shapeshift. All right. These things were thrown down to this earth. All right, to the bottomless pit, if you will. That's why they're coming up out of the sand world. That's why they're coming down from the heavens. Right. It's talking about giants. There's evidence of giants. Things like that. So these scrolls and these petroglyphs and what we see for our own eyes, all right, not spaceships, flying saucers, little green men, but actually lights and serpents and diamonds and weird things, right? These have been recorded before. This is what we're dealing with here. This is what we can prove. So I'm not saying that spaceships and technology and little green guys are not real. I'm not disregarding that. I'm just saying there's no credible evidence of this yet. I don't see any proof yet. I've been doing this for many, many years. I have yet to see any spaceships, any crafts, any little gray guys. I see photographs. I see CGIs. I don't see any credible videos. Until someone can actually prove, like take an object off a spaceship or something like that, I think we have to go with what can be verified, what is credible. The petroglyphs are credible. Those were carved way before we started doing this, way before you and I were even born. All right, they're talking about orbs and lights and diamonds and creatures and snakes, flying snakes, right? Some of these biblical texts, the Anunnaki, the Sumerian, the Bible, the Dead Sea Scrolls, all that stuff is talking about what we're seeing in the skies today. That is where we need to make the connections at. Not somebody trying to sell you movie tickets or hearsay videos or computer-generated videos, and stuff to make you click on that video so they can get paid, not for them playing on your ignorance. We have to get out of that and start looking at what is credible here. Not stuff that's hearsay, that's stuff that can't be proven. Hearsay and non-credible shit needs to take a holiday. We have to prove what we are talking about. And I believe I have. I believe I did. And that exactly, I am bringing this information to you. Now, it's up to you to go out there and investigate all my stuff that I've done. Check out my book. Look at my UFO sightings. Check out your area. Find out the history of it. Look for these petroglyphs with symbols of spirals and anthropomorphs, shape-shifting, flying serpents, lizard memes, mountains, energy lines, fault lines is the source of where to see these UFOs at. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and that'll wrap things up. I've gone way over, so thank you guys so much for joining us.